Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another session of Hindsight testing where I'm just going to be running through Hindsight, explaining some things, taking notes on some things. We'll do like an hour of this or maybe even a little more. Who knows? I might just go for like fucking 3 hour sessions just straight. With that being said, I'm going to be taking notes on the side. I'm going to be doing screenshots on the side and like really diving deep into the model, what we are looking for and why, and everything else in between. And we're not going to be flying through it like how I wouldn't say I really fly through my back testing, but I will be writing down notes on the side. So it may be taking longer. I may be like not talking as much. So we're just going to record it. And if you guys choose to watch it, then watch it. And I'm also going to be typing and annotating on screen as well as taking those screenshots and putting it into a system, right? I want to do at least 50 in hindsight to 100 in hindsight from top downs, following a checklist that I've somewhat built, I guess you could say. But this is just very basic and very baseline. One thing that's not on here is I am requiring at least one stage of crack in order to frame those things. But this is basically it, right? Universal models, intraday profile, clear phases and price, entry signature. And universal models and profiling would just be profiling the daily candle with the 4 hour, or weekly candle with the daily, right? Weekly candle with the daily candle with the 4, and the 1, really just the 4. And then the 4 hour candle with the 1 hour, 30 and 15, as we always do, and just including one stage crack as well, just to form those reversal points where that's something I want to include as well, as those one stages, because I've been stretching my legs away from that, but I want to re-include that into my trading now, just because I know that it will help filter out some of the trades that I am taking, right? And that's something that I do want to go and start doing, so to say. With that being said, let's first, before doing all of that, let's drop into some things on Instagram. I just reposted this one on my Instagram if you guys want to check it out. It says, this is a really good thing by Stunna. I actually knew him for a minute, dog. I'm not even gonna lie. But this is your 4 hour profiling, where it's like intraday profile. He has the times underneath where it's 22 o'clock to 22, 6 o'clock reversal, or 2 o'clock reversal. And you can do a 10 a.m. C3, 6 a.m. C4, whatever. And then you're matching it with those SMTs, at least one stage with the external level, and then maybe a 2 stage to go and trade this level here. And this is, you can see this, the profiling of this is, if this is 1800, this is 2 o'clock, this can be 6 o'clock, or this can be 1822, or whatever the case may be, right? And as you can tell, the 1800 candle, if this was 1800 candle or whatever, it doesn't really tap into anything relevant. The tap into relevancy is up here and down here. And this is external to external, going from an external range back to external range, right? That being said, here is your external internal. So there's your external range going to this unfilled gap, which is a C1, C2, and trading up into this gap, and then so on and so forth. And this gap is where you can see us go and continue if we was wanting to be bullish. Which asset would you choose to trade here? As you can tell as well, is the reasoning why he's pointing these SMTs in the upwards direction, because this is your higher time frame key level, is showing you that the asset setting, the asset that's pointing in the upwards direction obviously is going to be considered the more bullish assets. With that being said, they're there, and this is SMT inside the key level, and this is your 4 hour time frame, showing you that this is an internal external, and then you have the SMT in the key level in order for us to go downwards. Is this always present on the 4 hour chart? Not all the time, I will say so, because a lot of the times the 4 hour charts can be identical. However, it can be showing up on the 1 hour chart, and that is something that I notice, you know what I mean? I know, and nobody wanna see us together. Sorry, fucking Akon is playing on my phone. Fuck, that was so random, dog. But this is a good post by Stunna. If you guys want to go and look at his Instagram, this is his Instagram. I really only seen this post from him, and I was like, that's fire. And as you can tell, he has that 6 a.m. SMT, 6 a.m. C2. What can you trade? 10 a.m. C3, right, with that 10 a.m. C3. How do you want to trade the 10 a.m. C3? Is, as you can tell, if you miss the expansion, what do you see these do? It opens up gaps. 10 a.m. candle goes lower. We can trade. He traded the C2 into expansion. There's a 15-minute time frame. There's a 15-minute C2 within this 10 a.m. low. So 10 a.m. does open low, and then you can go and trade that. I like the way that he does this. I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah, I really do like the way that he does these screenshots. SMT, CISD pushing upwards, 10 a.m. and then the push upwards, right? So with that being said, yeah, I really like the way he has the time inside the candle. That's fire, bro. Not even gonna front there, right? 2 a.m. high a day, SMT. That means that this is your 2218 open high. SMTs with these highs. This SMT putting you in the downwards direction is showing you that this could be considered your high a day. 6 a.m. C3, you can trade this 10 a.m. C4 continuation. And as you can see, he does have that 10 a.m. continuation. 9:30 hits these relative levels down here, pushes us up into this gap. Now that gap has an SMT gap fill, and we could trade this down to the downside, that 10 a.m. candle. And that's exactly what he did trade, was the 10 a.m. opening here. I wouldn't have been able to enter there. I mean, even here, I don't think I would have been able to enter because I like to see it up and back down. I have a hard time using this as my stop loss. But nonetheless, pretty good. These are really good. I like the way that he does the screenshots. 6 a.m. C2, 1800 is here. 222.18, 18 opens sideways, accumulation, manipulates out this high with that SMT. The push back downwards equals what? 6 a.m. C2. What can you anticipate? 10 a.m. C3 to go down to where? All of this low resistance liquidity that's located to the left of us. Here's your low resistance liquidity that's located here. And this is your SMT with these highs, giving you a two-stage crack, I guess you could say. 930 does have an SMT with on that internal leg. When you got that SMT at the internal leg, 930 C2, what can you anticipate? 10 a.m. C3, right? So it all goes and pushes from that 6 a.m. candle. And then from there, you can trade that 10 a.m. C3. I don't know what's all up there. That's not really for me. But again, I have a hard time trading these OBs like that. That's not my style. I guess you could say this OB would have been better for me, but that's just because it's swept out a high. I just have a hard time using these, but not really my thing. With this one being said, yeah, that's basically that. Away from there, let's drop into this, right? So first day, daily time frame. I'm always going to drop in on the daily and the weekly first on my hindsight testing, right? As you can tell here on the weekly and the daily, let's get that new layout in. We can see that we do tap us into a relative level here on the weekly time frame, and from that tap into that weekly level, we tap, and what do we see here? It's an SMT that's pointing me in the downwards direction, and then we do expand away, and we are in bearish expansion away now, right? So with the bearish expansion away right now, we are going from external range to internal range on the daily time frame, and this can be considered your draw on liquidity on the weekly time frame, right? Sorry, I'm not daily. We do tap us into this level. However, what are we seeing? That this is most likely going to get broken. Why? Because all assets. Fucker, stop. Fucking annoying, bro. God, bro. I can anticipate for these all to be, I mean, I think all of them did break it. I'm not going to front there. Got my attention. Yeah, they all did impact this level already. Well, nonetheless, we are still in like some pretty bearish order flow. Bearish order flow, I would still be leaning on the bearish end of things, especially with like you still got reasons to go lower. I'm not even gonna lie. Just because it hit a level doesn't mean we're fucking gonna reverse if it doesn't show us reversal signatures, which I'm pretty sure it doesn't, right? Does it? Yeah, this is not reversal signatures. This is continuation signatures where you can see market go back down to here. One thing that I can say that I really don't like and not a huge fan of is the fact that we do have this these levels that's upstairs, my bad, not upstairs, but this level that is located up here that hasn't been tapped into. Not a huge fan of that, but we can take notice that there is SMT in between it, like here and here, and that could be considered like a protected high in a way if we expanded lower. We do have that 6 a.m. C2 here on NQ. As you can tell on ES, it does sweep out this high, whereas ES does not. So there is that SMT there, and we can take notice that this 6 a.m. C2 is very extremely bearish on what is this called, on YM. I'd much rather trade YM because of the fact that we are extremely bearish here on YM and not really on NQ yet, as NQ did turn into that lagging asset logic. With that being said, we can see that 7 a.m. does have that expansion lower. We impact the relative level. What can we anticipate when impacting this relative level? A different phase in price. So I'd more so want to just wait for that 15-minute pullback. So here's your impact of that relative level here at 9:30. What do we get? That different phase in price. Price moves up to go and push in here. I wait for a 15-minute fractal. Here's your 15-minute fractal on this 15-minute OB. Once you get this 15-minute OB, I don't really trade. I wouldn't say I ever trade, what is that called? I don't trade fucking C3s into expansions. I wait for the C2 into expansions. We see the V-shaped reversal here. I can enter as a positional entry at that 10 o'clock closure because I already have a stop loss like that, and I most likely would have gotten stopped out at break even if it doesn't fully deliver here. Yeah, stopped out at break even. Another possible entry would be like trading NQ as that lagging asset logic, as as YM does tap into this level here. We'd want to see NQ switch strengths in order for us to go down to the downside. So here you can actually take notice of a YM reaching back up and setting an SMT within this gap, which is that 1030 gap, and then not really an SMT, but nonetheless, I guess you could say once you take notice of YM kind of consolidating once that low has been impacted, this is where you can take a look for NQ to be that lagging asset logic. How would you wait for it? You could wait till it just escapes this range and now gives you that continuation entry that's located here, and that would be your new 15-minute opening up high and setting that high of that 15-minute candle outside of a 15-minute gap, and you can take this 15-minute OB type style down to there, and that would be basically this 3-minute CISD. I would have to wait though for that 15-minute closure to set the high of that 11 a.m. candle, and I'd wait for the entire closure there. Why? Because I would need to wait for and I would honestly try to pull it in as well. And we would have missed. We would have missed. So there wouldn't have been any entry here, realistically speaking, if I got to be completely honest with you. Yeah. Would have got stopped out of break even, if anything, on that YM trade. So with this all being said, again, dropping in on the daily time frame first. We do hit a range low. With this range low getting tapped into, what can we take notice of? Is we do have that daily C2 outside of this low. So with that daily C2 pushing outside of this low, I am honestly having a bullish bias just because of how relevant it is, and we could go and trade back upwards up to where internal range or just that previous day's high. And then if we was to fail to manipulate this previous day's high, then we could go up to these highs that's located up to the next level. With that being said, I am leaning on the bullish end with that daily C2. So with that daily C2 like that, we can take notice that YM is the most bullish, and we can see that also just lower time frame signatures does support that bullish expansion up to the upside after that daily C2 sets the low here, pushes us upwards, CISDs on that 4-hour time frame, hits the accumulation, right? hits this accumulation type profile. When you do have this, daily kind of opens up high, doesn't really tap into anything of significance, and its 6 a.m. candle does reach back down and sweeps out the current low of day, meanwhile going and pushing this way. So with the sweeping of this current low of day, there is a possibility that this could be considered your low of day. We do impact this level too, as well as NQ does tap us into this level, and now YM does not. In order for this SMT to be considered valid for us to want to go upwards, as there is SMTs at these highs, and you can take notice that these SMTs at this highs, what is happening? It is not getting respected from YM. So if YM is going to continue higher, we want to see NQ flip price up to the upside. The SMT direction is showing me that NQ or YM should be able to go up to the upside. What's going to be within the 6 a.m. candle is an hourly C2, some form of C2 formation, right? Because I don't want to trade lower. You can see that we had this accumulation, manipulation from the driver, because you can't trust any of these lows. The driver opens up low to set the low a day, and now we're looking for a swing formation that's located here. Without a swing formation, okay, so here's your swing formation that's located here, and this is going into 10 a.m. I would personally wait for the 6 a.m. candle closure as well. Why? Because driver opened up low into this point of interest. Now I'd wait for a reversal to take place in order for me to get on side with this trade. Once you get this 15-minute C2 here, you can take notice that if there is a V-shaped reversal within this 15-minute C2, here's your V-shaped reversal. How do you want to get on side with this? So you have a key level, SMT in the key level, right? CISD, 10 a.m. opens up straight higher. We do not have a wick yet. How do I want to get in on it? Is just by the CISD that's located here. This can be considered your entry. Stops, 2R. See if we can get it now. Stops a break even. Stops has been a break even. And now you can just hold this for 2R. I don't know if you're going to get this one, not going to lie. It's kind of a large stop loss. Yeah, so you get stopped out of break even here. How else could you do this? Honestly, I wouldn't trade this guy, but this is another possible entry. And what this is your new 15-minute open as well, and you're trading that 15-minute C2 into expansion. So you're trading that C2 into expansion. But for me, I think that 10 a.m. open low high close here is the best bet. And you're also going and operating around the entry time of that new 15-minute candle. I can't enter early here even with this V shape, because this isn't valid to me, right? Unless it could suck in the stop loss, but I hate pulling in my stop losses, especially if this is going to be, that's my full invalidation point, right? So yeah, we just get stopped out of break even there. I wouldn't trade NQ because NQ is known as the weaker asset. So I really wouldn't trade NQ up to those highs. It would really just be YM. So again, why would we choose YM here? Is this accumulation manipulating out this low? With the manipulation of that low there, we can take notice that sorry, hold on, my bad. With the manipulation out of this low, this is your expansion, met with expansion, met with accumulation, met with manipulation inside of this point of interest with the SMT at that low that's setting the low a day, and then the expansion away from the SMT validates it. The expansion and the CISDs away from this SMT validates it. NQ being the weakest asset, NQ also not having any other reason to go lower. So it's like NQ has no reason to go lower. This is giving me good signs that SMT can be valid. Versus if there was reasons for us to go lower, there's signs that SMT could not be valid. Right. So with that all being said, that's kind of a big reason why I was willing to just jump in. Right. And then, yeah, I'm not allowed to trade the first CISDs away from the lowest or highest points of days. So what do? I wait for the secondary CISD, which does happen. I just don't have a good enough fucking I don't have enough for 2R. That's basically all it was. Right. So I'd get stopped out of break even there for sure. Cool. So taking a look here on the 4 hour time frame, extremely bearish order flow. So market is gonna remain bearish. We was not gonna push bullish here. We can take notice that NQ does go and tap us into this gap, and the gap does hold as we do have this SMT and then, or not SMT, but accumulation, manipulation, and Monday does look like it wants to flow lower. NQ does have that daily C2, as well as YM does have this daily C2 as well, or not a daily C2, but it's really going to be dependent on intraday profile now, how we wanted to go about this. So with this being said, 1800 candle does have an open low, kind of more so if you're even looking at, if we was to erase this candle there, you can obviously see that YM is within what? A consolidation. Do we like to trade within consolidations? No, we don't. We want to see, ideally, if I wanted to trade up higher here on YM, I would like to see a sweep. Holy shit, that thing is so ugly, bro. Looks like some of your guys is fuck. Never mind, sorry. Oh shit. Right, so we'd want to sweep out this low, which it doesn't. So we are within a consolidation here on YM. With me being in a consolidation on YM, I really don't want to trade it. Here we can take notice that NQ is expanding. NQ is in a trend now. So with NQ being in a trend, I am taking notice that this 1800 candles high, not really the most convincing higher day. However, what can we take notice of is this 2 a.m. C2 that pushes me down to the downside. I'd like to see 6 a.m. C3 and 10 a.m. C4 possibility. With that possibility being spoken, I do want to be aware that we are tapping us into a very relative level. With that very relative level, I want to see what type of reaction do we get out of it. Are we going to accumulate, manipulate? What are we going to do? Right, so with this being said, here's was my possible 2 a.m. C2. I can possibly see price going down lower. That 2 a.m. C2 is also a cracking correlation, as you can take notice of this PSP that's located right here. So this 2 a.m. candle is a PSP. So with this being a PSP, we can see that we are expanding lower as well. And this is also showing you what price taps us into this level and is really failing to reverse. 6 a.m. does open high, and then we do expand lower. With this being said, I'm not 1,000% sure I would be looking to take a trade here as well, because why? If the overnight has expanded, we can see a different phase in price come New York. So this is where, like, one of my other rules, that's like one of the rules that is telling me that there is a possibility that we don't take a trade here. However, being that we are at the lowest points of days coming into the market open, how would I like to go and maneuver this? I would like to see a deeper push back up into the range in order for me to frame down to the downside. So I would zoom in here on the 15-minute time frame and take notice of what this push here, accumulation, expansion, opening up of these gaps and relative levels. With the gaps and relative levels, what am I seeing? A 30-minute gap. With this 30-minute gap here, this is a gap that I would like to see hold in order for price to continue down to the downside. I see an accumulation. How do I like to leave an accumulation? By a manipulation. 930 does go, or 945 does go upwards and sets that manipulation. And with this manipulation of those highs, it is also sweeping out here as well. So we have SMT inside of that internal range liquidity. And from this being said, you do have this SMT like that. And then I would look for a V-shaped reversal, which then it becomes a consolidation. And if I got to be completely honest with you, within this range here, I wouldn't take a trade. I would literally just walk away, because this is not attractive to me, and you'd have to wait for something of significance. Don't trade anything here. Why? Because this is the lowest point of the day. This is why you would get stopped out. It pushes us up, back upwards into the range. So overnight expansion equals chop lowest point of day equals wait for gap tap 15-minute pullback. Right, and then we do tap us into here. Do we get any 3-minute CISDs here? No, I don't. So I probably wouldn't want to take any trades here because of the lack in CISD. This is a continuation, but realistically speaking, there's nothing really here for me, right? So we would just continue from there. This is the day of week is a Tuesday. So with that being said, Monday does expand lower. There is reasons for us to go up higher. As you can tell, YM does reach down. SMT break logic now. And with this SMT break logic, that can send price back upwards as it really did. Monday also does not have a high of week that's set with anything of true significancy. So there is reasons for me to think that we could go up there. We do have a 1 a.m. C2 and looking for 8 a.m. C3 and 9 a.m. C4. Right, so that's utilizing your 7-hour chart. I do look at the I'm not gonna say I do, but I've been taking a peek at the 7-hour chart lately because all the 7-hour chart is just set. It's just separated from three different sessions. This is Asia session, this is London session from 1 to 8, and this is New York session from 8 to 21 or whatever. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 8 to 15. So this is New York session, the entire New York session. So this is Asia, 18 to whatever. This is London, 01 to 8, and then this is New York session, just separating the three sessions into three different candles, right? We can see that Asia does what? Open low into a relative level, and then we have that London reversal where we start to expand away within that 6 a.m. candle. So here you can take notice of market open, and we do start to expand away, whereas I would like to go and trade from external, the range, back to internal, which would be these highs that's located here. With this being said, I would just genuinely just try to see if I could frame something. Oh, this is perfect. Right there, 15-minute C2, pushing outside of a 15-minute gap. And the strongest asset that went and broke this SMT low that is a lot higher in the range as NQ is a lot more bearish. We have to go, and the daily profile supports this as well. So what do we have is universal model, internal, external, intraday profile, open, low, high, close, clear phases in price. Right, clear phase and price, open, low, high, close, expansion, retracement, looking for the C2, trading within the C3 now of that 930 C3, and this is where I would look for a reversal happening prior to the driver. This would be your driver entry here. Driver does open a little low here, and then we have that very strong closure through at 933. Here's your 933. Boom, stops can go to these lows, and you can go and rip this back up to these highs, as this is your draw on liquidity. I always have to wait 3 minutes. Why? Because I don't want to see the decoupled move go and rip me down to the downside, right? So with this all being said, I can enter there, and we can just take it up to that high that's located there for that driver play. Now, if I was to miss the driver, again, what are we doing? Internal, external, swing point, C2, and I'm just trading the C3 upwards. So now let's say if I was to miss that driver entry, I would wait for a new swing formation to formulate itself. Do we get one? Here's your new swing formation. So I'd look for that C2 at 1030, and I can trade the C3 as that C3 closure. So do we have a 3-minute CISD? No, I don't. So I wait for the next one. Okay, 15-minute C2, looking for a 3-minute CISD. Do I have one here? Yes, but actually, this is not entirely that bad as well. Why? Because accumulation, the manipulation, and then a new 15-minute actually opens up and sets this high right there like that, and it just stops to this low. Accumulation, manipulation, looking for the distribution back up to 2R, and also you could go and aim for the open or high close of that 10 a.m. candle, or just go up to 2R, because this would be your relative level, because that you'd actually want to be at break even right here anyway. Right, something like that. I don't know if I'll take that, but this one for sure, this driver entry was perfect. And yeah, that's basically that, bro. Not gonna lie. Right, internal, external. Let's draw it out. Yeah, let's draw it out. So I do want to go and take some screenshots. That's why. I hate when YouTube does this, bro. Looking like an external, internal. Wait, where is it? For the times and I took you home. ERL IRL. I recommend you guys do it like this as well. And the reasoning is why I say frame it and draw it out. Do it like you're actually drawing something out, right? So ERL IRL. You always want to make sure the phases and price is clear. Staying in my world, has no proud to call you my girl. Intraday profile, right? So here's your intraday profile. Your 1800 does open low, and your 2 a.m. is going to be considered your low of day. What the fuck, dude? I have so much fucking things here I don't even use anymore. Phases in price, operate. I'm going to delete a good chunk of these right now, actually. 2 stages in crack, never going to use that. 2 a.m. C2, A, B, 6 a.m. C2. We're looking at a 2 a.m. C2 here, right? I'm looking at a 6 a.m. C3, and then I'm anticipating for a 10 a.m. C4, and the target is for this high as you're drawing liquidity. And this is your 6 a.m. candle. If any didn't agree, I'm there on my own. You guys don't need this, yeah? You guys can see what it is. I used to only have it for, what the fuck? Whatever. Understand that there's a problem. Too blind to love. The things you kept inside you. You might not joke. I apologize for being wrong. And just a shame on me. Pain. You put the blame on me. Whatever. And this is your sell side and buy side of this curve. You can put the blame on me. Put the blame on me. Put the blame on me. I'm looking at this 15-minute C2 and trading the 15-minute C3. Trying to take blame. The blame's on you. The blame's on you. I'll take that blame from you. The blame's on me. Okay. And then this is going to go in the Discord. Upload the file. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to make sure that I do everything good and correctly here. Cool. And moving on, right? So here I'll be looking at the daily time frame as always. We'll look at the weekly first. What the fuck is going on? Remove indicators. Remove indicators. Remove indicators. Control Z. Why is there 2 sets of indicators on all of these? Remove indicators. Okay, cool. Load this layout. Hindsight 2. Okay, perfect. Now we're good. We're back to one indicator per screen. Right, so here on the weekly, we can see that we are very bearish. We are within this weekly internal though. So there is reasonings for us to go back being bullish. So I do want to be aware of that, right? We are within a weekly internal range. We are pushing us upwards. There has been some sweeping of indications from this low. This is a long wick on that weekly candle though, so I wouldn't want to anticipate too much bullish motion. I'd more so want to be like just a retrace type deal up to the nearest draw on liquidity. We do have a push here. I wouldn't say it's very bear. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is very bullish because you do have that expansion met with expansion, and we do end up sweeping out this low. But now we are just within this accumulation. How do we leave an accumulation? Most of the time, or not most of the time, by manipulation, right? So with this manipulation, we can actually take notice that YM does go and sweep out this low as well. So with this low being swept as well, okay, so there is no SMT. The daily profile, kind of a chop profile. I'm not gonna front there. Like the whole day may be chopped. I don't like the way that we're trading within this bigger, higher time frame range right now, as this is nothing but a consolidation to me, right? So with this being within this bigger, higher time frame consolidation, we do impact this level and is failing to manipulate. So there is possible opportunities for YM to go up and meet that. We do have a PSP here that could be considered forming the lowest point of the day as we are expanding away from it. So here you can see, oh yeah, this is definitely free as fuck, dude. Market opens low, taps us into daily's opening price. We start to expand away. YM, I really wouldn't be able to trade anything here because the lower day needs to be set. As long as driver goes and reverses price, which it does actually right here, right? With the driver reversing price here, with all of that low resistance, setting this lower day with that manipulation. And this would also be your 930 reversing price off of the current low day, going for that delayed protraction. And then this is your 10 a.m. opening candle. 10 a.m. opens low, setting that low of the 10 a.m. candle inside of this gap. NQ obviously being the more bullish asset with that bullish closure, with the 9 a.m. C2 or the 6 a.m. C2, which YM is a bearish C2 as there is a PSP there. And then you would just look for that 10 a.m. to actually open low. And from this 10 a.m.'s open low here, you could just enter right off of that open low high close, 15-minute gap tap, expansion away. Entry could be considered here. Stops could be considered this level there. And your stops would go break even as soon as you cross that high, and you would get stopped out of break even. So with that getting stopped out of break even, you can zoom out here, realign yourself looking back at a 15-minute time frame and just looking for a new 15-minute swing to trade away from. Here YM does have this 15-minute swing that does get developed off of this one. I wouldn't like the way that it does miss that other low, that low next to it, but at the same time, if we start to go and expand away from it, we do have this accumulation, the manipulation, and in the CISD that's above here. With the CISD that's above here, we can take notice. Maybe you don't have confidence to enter on this first one and you want to see an extra confirmation because the candle closure is kind of weak here. You could wait for that gap tap there to be tapped into, and you can see that we do have this OB that's also letting me go and use that as an OB, and you can trade this back up to where? To catch up to the same highs that NQ has hit and it started to accumulate. So with that hit and the accumulation here, we can see that that SMT that is considered all the way up here is considered invalid, and now you can trade that lagging asset to go and catch up to with where NQ is. Right, and then this would be your TP for 3R. Obviously you're not shooting it for 3R, you're just going for 2, and 2 is fine enough. And that was your strength switch into the weaker asset to go and catch up to where NQ is, as well as NQ is consolidating here and is not going lower, right? So with that being said, let's say you didn't want to put your stop loss here, and you would just have to wait for that more so stronger closures away, just in case you don't want to go and trust this. But the closures above these levels means that we shouldn't have to go down to these levels anymore anyway. With that being said, that would also be your new 15-minute open low high close, and I'm putting my stops at the bottom of a 15-minute open low high close here on YM to catch up to break the SMT, which is all of these stacked highs bouncing off of current day's low. Obviously, YM or NQ is going to be the most bullish asset here, but this really tall tale sign is that expansion away, the pull back. You would have got stopped at a break even, unfortunately, but fuck it, what can you do, dog? You know what I mean? You have to go to break even there. And then yeah, that's basically that trade and how you would get on side with it. So again, 15-minute pullback, 15-minute C2. We are trading within the 15-minute C3, and overall, yeah, you're just trading within the 15-minute C3 after the C2 has showed it. Entry signature of the V-shaped reversal. Gaps being respected. You can enter off of these gaps, and you're entering on the new 15-minute candle C3 closure, right? So C3 is the 15-minute opening low and securing this low with the CISDs here, so to say, right? So that is pretty much that. Not going to do any screenshots. I'm going to do it in the next one, in other videos, I guess, or just by myself, sorry. So with this being said here, again, weekly time frame tapping us into a relative level. Not really going to draw too much bias here. Not telling me much here anyway. We do have a daily C3 outside of this relative level. This could be considered your low of week, as Monday does open low with no personal wick, and we are going from external to range with a very strong C3 closure, as it is closing very much engulfing this. So from the C3, if we wanted to go higher, we can anticipate a C4 up to those highs that is located above. Or we could honestly want to go lower, where YM or NQ is showing me a nice accumulation, manipulation, distribution back down to range low. So I may be focusing here on NQ actually. If the profile supports it, right? So if the profile supports it, taps us into this relative high, as we are in bearish order flow already. We do tap us into this high, accumulates, manipulates within 2 a.m. Daily profile does open up higher, and we expand away. As you can tell, YM is more so in a decoupled motion. I may not be trading YM on this day, as NQ is a lot more bullish. We can take notice that ES does swing back up and sets an SMT in between these swing formations like this. There is also an SMT at the external level that is pushing me in the downwards direction. So we have those two stages of divergence in order for price to go down to the downside. With that being said, we can see that market does have that open high profile, and the 9 a.m. candle does reach upwards and sweeps out these highs located like that. ES does go a lot more higher than YM, so you can see that strength has switched into NQ for NQ to want to go lower. I would, however, wait for YM to show, because it reached all the way the fuck up here. I need to see ES reverse price in order to get on side with these trades. We do have this very strong closure inversing some gaps there on 939, and that's where I'd be like, okay, so also ES is coming back down. We can trade YM down to the downside as well here at 936, the opening of 936, or the closure. Yeah, that's good right here. That could be considered your entry. Stops goes to those highs, and you're just trading down to these lows right here for 1R, and your stops can go break even as soon as you cross that low, or when you just create a new opposing run, and you can go down to there. Now let's say if we was to miss the driver, how would I get on side with this? I really wouldn't want to trade away from these highs like that. Just kind of difficult on a more difficult end. Yeah, just sorry, my bad, dog. Right, so it's going to be a little bit more on the difficult end there, but yeah, the Mr. Driver 15-minute pullback play didn't. There is no 15-minute pullback play here. You just missed the driver. You missed the driver. Simple as that. Why wouldn't you want to trade YM here? Honestly, it's just like, yeah, it's supposed to go there, but it didn't. You are at the top of the day here at 9:30, so you can't really just enter here. Price does make its way down, and then there's just no entry from there, right? Literally no entry, no entry, no entry. So you wouldn't even have a trade there. The best option I would say would be that rip downwards, but at the same time, I'm not really a huge fan of. I don't know. I haven't been doing good here with the I haven't been doing good with fuck. Yeah. Stops or break even. God, bro. Fucking stopping out at break even again. But basically, all this was just your AMD, right? Accumulation, manipulation, AMD, setting that manipulation with that 15-minute C3, almost a 15-minute C2, 30-minute C2. Yeah. Motive. Whatever. So taking a look here, daily time frame. How are we doing on the daily? YM is within this consolidation range. I really wouldn't want to be participating anything in YM right now, right? Anything YM related is just consolidating as it is within this entire bigger, higher time frame range, so to say. It's not 11 o'clock. No, won't let me out. Yeah, YM is within this bigger, higher time frame daily range. So with YM just behaving the way it is within this daily's range, anything within it is it's just considered noise to me. I really wouldn't want to trade anything here, and it instantly becomes not interesting. We do have this expansion day on the previous day. This is a Friday. Oh no, this is Monday. So with this being Monday, there is a possibility after all of this expansion on a Monday, we may run into some accumulation problems. I would, however, see this expansion away from this high into a relative level gives us a different phase in price, giving me a retracement. The retracement back upwards into this gap that's located here. With this gap being internal range, we'd want to set the high of this new 4-hour candle. I'd want to go down to all of these lows because the low day is not set with anything of true significancy. So there is a way for me to want to get down lower. So with me wanting to get down lower, we do see that 10 a.m. candle move, make its move upwards. I'm looking for some form of model in order for me to get on side with this. We do have a 30-minute SMT that's located like this at that 10:30 closure. From that 10:30's closure, that sets the high of that 10 a.m. candle there with the SMTs and shit all within these highs. Oh, we got SMT break actually. ES does reach up, breaks these SMTs. It's located right here. So with that SMT break logic, there is a way for you to go short in this market. My main focus is trading NQ and ES because why? NQ and ES is cleaner on the higher time frame as YM is within this consolidation, and I don't want to participate in YM anything. So YM, again, universal models is retracement, phases of price, retracement, clear. I have a clear phases of price. I do have that waiting for that 15-minute pullback, and I do have my intraday profile aligned with my entry signatures now. So I'm looking for an entry signature here. 15-minute C2s is getting put in on play. That's located up here, and it's also a PSP, so I would just wait for the C3 as we do want to wait for that V-shape reversal. Here would be your first CISD. As I don't trade the first CISD away from the highest points of days, I wait for the secondary CISDs. So here would be your secondary CISD that's located here. Once you get that secondary CISD located there, stops can go to this high. As you can see, all assets is going and expanding away from that, and our target would be our targets would be to this draw on liquidity that's located down here. And then that would be our draw on liquidity, just going for this high and low. Oh, my girlfriend brought me fucking coffee, dog. She brought me the rest of my energy drink. My dog, it's fucking 11:30 at night, bro. I will take a sip. I ain't even gonna lie. Let's go. Coming down, coming down. So again, why would this trade really work out? It's just the intraday profile of it, right? Yes, you can argue that this is some people might argue that this is an open low profile, right? Because the daily candle does open low. It opens out into a very relative level as well. But I cannot trade away from all of this, right? Not when we are within IRL of this FVG, and then we form the high with those 15-minute models, and then get the CISDs, and you're just going to target just for, not even for that, you're just going to target to here, right? Just for 2.39, or you could just go for 2 because you're a normal person, and then you're catching that CISD continuation, and the CISD right here is going to be what? An 11 a.m. opening up high, low close, and your stops is just going to be at the high of a new hourly candle. You're always going to operate yourselves around. Hold on. I got to go and put this fucking... I can't drink this, bro. I'll be up to fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. Look at that. It's too much, bro. Alright, so with these ones, with this setup here is just like, oh, fuck, I don't know where I left off, but nonetheless, right? That was your entry. Your full TP is gonna be considered all the way down there. Let's see if you get it. So you don't get it really. But other than that, that's pretty much the trade. Sorry, I had to get rid of that can, because if not, I drink the whole fucking thing, and next thing you know, so I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning. So I had to go and fucking put it in the next room. Okay, so let's go over this one now. So taking a look here, daily time frame. Honestly, again, right? So why do we not want to trade? Why do we not want to trade YM? YM is within this daily's range. So with it being within this daily range like this, it's unideal. Super ugly. Looks like, never mind, sorry. But we do have a very nice AMD playing out here on NQ and ES. So with NQ and ES, we can see that we do have this AMD With this AMD, we have this daily C2 outside of that range low. This is also your Monday, setting a possible low of week with that daily C2. Hold on. Sorry, there was like a weird ass noise, bro. And then you do have that daily C2 pushing me up to the upside outside of a range low. And that's also your Monday setting it. Where would we want to print the wick of this new day is within the upper half of that previous day's candle. And as you can tell, price does print that wick there. Do we have a 4-hour V-shaped reversal? We low-key do. So with this expansion, hold on. Stop. What the fuck are you eating? Give me this. Fuck, dude. It's the fucking dog. These fucking guys, bro, they eat anything, dog. Fucking cardboard, dog. Wall, cardboard, drywall. Fuck, dude. Trying to do my work here. So with this all being said, we do have that phases and price is kind of supporting it, right? We do have that expansion. Not really. I wouldn't say this is expansion. I really wouldn't argue that this is expansion, but we cannot go and we cannot say that this isn't an accumulation getting manipulated and then us expanding away from it. My original bias coming, oh yeah, definitely these highs here. So we can see that we do have this expansion lower, but this 6 a.m. candle does start to make a move away. With this 1 hour candle here, I would honestly want to go and trade down lower to these lows, as I would anticipate for all of this to be considered my draw on liquidity for the day. I wouldn't anticipate this highs at first anyway. I would anticipate these lows because of all this low resistance. So now I would zoom in to see how does the driver entry. As you can tell, we do have that C2, 3. I'm looking for price to go and continue down lower, especially to these equal lows that's located below. So with these equal lows that's located below, this is where I'd want to see price go to. And then I would just wait, right? Just wait. I would wait for what? A nice closure. Market would go and open up high. This would be your market open, sweeps out these highs, and then we don't ever get a closure through. We do get a closure through, however, this CISD that's located here. Why wouldn't we take this entry that's located right here on this candle? Right, there's a fucking very important lesson here. We wouldn't take that entry there because of the fact of the long wick that is presented. This is a rejection candle. Within this rejection candle, I would actually anticipate for it to get swept out like that. So with that being said, I would wait to see if we can get a more full body candle closure there. So we don't get a full body candle closure and we start to rip to the upside. This is where I would be like, okay, so obviously I'm wrong. This is actually your draw on liquidity. We would actually just save ourselves a loss there, and it honestly looks like it would just become a no trading day for me. Right, we do expand up higher. We have this 15-minute C2. We can trade the 15-minute C3. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not. Why? Because price has already expanded prior to the driver. Can I trade this long that's located here? Absolutely not. There's no possible way that you are long biased with these equal lows that's all located here and the low resistance liquidity that is located there. What I'm reading is an accumulation going from sweeping out this high and us expanding away from this high, opening up of gaps. These gaps is the gaps that you want to see hold in order for you to trade down lower to where all of those equal lows that is located below us, and in turn in alignment with all of these lows, in alignment with the overall higher time frame order flow being expansion with expansion met with retracement met with expansion, and you want to go and trade down lower. So I would not have been bearish by any means here, and I'd be more bullish by every mean, if that makes sense. So let's go and take a look. There wouldn't be any trade there, and that's simple as that. So what do we see here is an accumulation high getting swept out, and from that AMD high, we can take notice that pretty much all the assets have went and swept out the high. I would be looking for what? External the range to internal the range. With this external the range to internal the range, we do take notice that there is an SMT there. and it did get broken as well. And I'm taking a look at the daily profile. So intraday profile does tell me that we do have this 1800 opening up high, and we do sweep out this external range highs that's located to the left of us. And then we do expand away within this candle. I would personally wait, because also you don't have a really valid lower day as well. So with that being said, you can see the 6 a.m. candle does expand away from these highs, going for that range high in external of the range back to internal of the range. We do take notice that it's the driver that does reverse price, and I really wouldn't be able to trade here anything. I wouldn't be able to trade away from these highs because expansion hasn't really occurred yet, really. So what I would wait for would be for the driver to go and confirm my entries. So we would see that these highs here could be considered something we can trade away from once we get this accumulation, the manipulation, and the very strong closure through. With this very strong closure through, this is the driver telling me that we are possibly going down to the downside. Do we have all the other assets here? As you can tell, is sweeping out those highs, and there is a possibility for us to go down to the downside. Let's say I didn't have the enough confidence. I really would genuinely jump into this, because your relative level is this level here where you can go to break even on, right? And then you can go down to that. With that being said, going from external to internal, that would be my draw on liquidity. You could take that. Let's say you was to miss it. If you was to miss that driver entry, what would you wait for? Would just be a 15-minute pullback. Do we ever get it? No, we don't. So market does go and rip us all the way down straight to the draw, and I wouldn't get any entries here. So now with this being said, I would just wait for what? A 15-minute pullback, because this is your new 10 a.m. candles opening. So 10 a.m., I'd wait for a 15-minute C2 to form. Once you get this 15-minute C2's closure, like that candle's closure, I'll look for a 3-minute CISD. So there is none there. Wait for a new 15. Okay, new 15 opens, new 15-minute C2. Boom, candle closure, no CISDs. Wait for a new 15-minute C2. Boom, 15-minute C2. Look for a candle closure, CISDs. Boom, CISD. Cool. Once you get that CISD located like this, your stops can go to this high. And then now you're trading what? The 15-minute C3, which your stops up at this swing, the C2's high, down to the downside to a possible 2R. Let's see if you get it. And then there will be your 2R. In alignment with this 930 reversal, expansion into a low, what happens after a low gets impacted? A different phase in price. What phase in price do we get hit with is a retracement. How do we want to leave and complete the retracement? By a swing formation out of where? A gap, in order for us to go down to the downside, and then we want to go and trade it back down to the lowest point of the day. Do I want to trade ES? No. Why? Because I never trade ES, if I got to be completely honest with you, right? And yeah, the phases in price just really support it. As you can tell, YM is very decoupled with NQ right now. So that's kind of why I'm not even paying attention to YM at the current standpoint. And yeah, that'd be basically it. So again, internal, external on the lower time frame, daily profile, open, high, low, close, targets, low resistance liquidity, external, internal, higher time frame, and just looking at a 15-minute pullback. If you was to miss that driver entry, waiting for that 15-minute pullback, the 15-minute model is going to frame the high of that 10 a.m. candle, which is going to be that high out of that 15-minute gap there, right? And that's basically it. That's nothing else to it. Yeah, so it's just universal model. Well, actually, I have a checklist here next to me. Universal model, check. Intraday profile, check. Clear phases and price, check. Entry signature, check. That's all it fucking is, right? One stage crack. There was actually a stage of crack or a SMT break, so check. And this was a miss the driver 15-minute pullback play, check. Check, 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 check. Missed the driver, 15-minute pullback play. Check. And then you could also get that driver entry, 33 driver entry. And that's your check to solve the decoupling of that profile or whatever you was taking a look at. Right. So taking a look here, daily time frame. Again, we are trading from external of the range to internal of the range. I'm more so interested in going short. ES is long right now, not gonna lie. ES is looking like it wants to go up long. So right now the most correlated is going to be considered YM and ES, as NQ is kind of within this consolidation. Now we can see that N or YM is heavy trending up to a target. What the fuck is your problem, bro? Being weird. So with massive expansion, there is reasoning for us to go from external to internal. Here on YM, as we did impact a very relative level. So you can take a external to internal type model here, just because there is no more reason on YM to go higher. So if YM has no more reason to go higher, as you can tell, NQ is within this daily consolidation. The daily profile does go and support this. The problem with this is I don't like the way that these highs is equal the way that they are. However, if we can, if there is like a, because there is SMT there, if we do want to go down lower, we can see that the daily profile actually supports it, and we do have a pretty much a swing formation here on the 1 hour time frame, as 9 a.m. does reverse price. So if 9 a.m. is going to reverse price, my bias for the day would actually be leading pretty bearish based off of the daily profile and based off of the fact that YM has tapped us into a very relative level, and also based on the fact that, I mean, just overall fucking way too much expansion. You want to trade down lower, especially if there's no lower day. Literally, there's no wick on the daily candle. So there is a lot of reasons for you to go lower, not a whole lot of reasons for you to go higher. So I'll be waiting for that 930 to reverse price here. And once you get this 930 pushes up, SMT, and then we all start to expand away. The higher day is getting formed with a PSP, and then we do have that 930 reversal. Within that 930 reversal, we expand away there, and my eyes still wouldn't be floating at being bearish, so to say, until we do see this V shape away from it. I wouldn't be able to jump in on anything in terms of the prior to the driver to go upwards, because I really don't have a reversal that I can trade away from here. With that being said, the first 30-minute candle would go upwards, and the first 3-minute candle will kind of just be fucking right here. There's nothing here for me. I wouldn't trust anything until we have a good momentum and motion away. So once you have this very good momentum and motion away, now I can take notice like, okay, we are expanding. We have a 15-minute C2, 15-minute gap, all that good shit. I can look for this SMTs to hold. All assets have expanded away. I'm looking for a 15-minute C2. Once you get that 15-minute C2 closure at 10:30, we can go and take the 15-minute C3, just making sure that the signatures in price does match this. And you can also take notice that this is a 10 a.m. opening high. Actually, you can take that C2 into expansion as it goes and taps us into that gap, because the price does reverse very early within that 15-minute candle. Accumulation, manipulation, and you could take this first CISD as that C2 into expansion back down to the downside, as it did happen within that first 3 minutes. And you can go and take that down to your 2R or your daily opening price, as that's going to be more proper, or you can just take it to your 3R static down to these three, and that's down to this low that's located here. And that's just, again, SMT at the highs. That's why we wouldn't have to go to there. Yes, it's failure swings, but there is no more reasons for YM to go up higher. Same as we was talking about earlier. No more reasons for NQ to go higher. No more reasons for YM to go higher. There is reasons for ES to go higher, but the daily profile does point me in the downwards direction, as it does have that open high low close, and then 930 does reverse price off of it. So really just having that clear daily profile that I'm noticing right now is something that is great. So universal models, external, internal on YM, we want to anticipate YM to go down inwards. So your universal models is checked. Right? Intraday profile is an open high low close, and it is also in line with my bias, so to say. Clear phases in price was very clear once it did start to expand away. With that expansion away, that's when you do have that clear market direction, and you're no longer forcing anything, letting that reversal happen away from the SMTs for you to confirm that that's going to be considered your high a day, right? You wouldn't know that high here on NQ, you wouldn't know that this high was not going up to this level here until it expands away. Once it expands away, what is the confirmation of this expansion away? Is the gaps. What gap? A 15-minute gap, right? What this gap away from these highs is what we want to see hold in order for us to continue where? To that daily profile low or whatever, right? So your clear phases in price, and then your entry signature is that 3-minute CISD V shape, and you're trading that 15-minute C2 and 15-minute C3. If you was to just go and trade the 15-minute C3, it would just be a positional entry like this, where now you can anticipate for the new 15-minute candle's high to be formed within the lower half of that previous 15-minute candle, and you can go and trade that down to 2R. Let's see if you get it. And that would be your 2R, right? So realistically speaking, it's just your intraday profile, your universal model, your reasonings for it to go lower or higher, right? As YM did not need to go higher anymore, we should be going lower. And then you want to see your entry signature, which is that V-shaped reversal, and your manipulation, and then your push out of that 15-minute gap. And what trade is this? What trade is this? What setup is this? Miss the driver, entry, 15-minute pullback inside of that 15-minute gap, right? And it's always just trading that 15-minute C2 or 15-minute C3. And if you are trading the C2, right, how do you want to trade the C2? Is it has to be early in the candle. The reversal has to be early in the candle. As you can tell, it is what, fucking 3 minutes within this candle, which is also a 30-minute C2, or 30-minute C3 is 30-minute C4. So there is good reasons for you to go down lower, right? Just trading this expansion, retracement, expansion. Happened early in the candle, small wick, fucking solid, bro. Honestly, out of a point of interest, fucking solid, dude. Promise. And yeah, that's basically that trade there. Other than that, it's been an hour since I've been yapping. I will just continue this. Well, I am going to end this session so that way my videos, I want to try to keep them all along an hour. I don't really feel like dropping like a fucking 4-hour stream. You know what I mean? That's just not valid, so to say. I don't think people want to listen to me yap for 4 hours. Just straight. It's kind of weird. But nonetheless, I'm going to end it here, and then we'll take like a little 5-minute break and then get right back into it. So if you guys like this type of content, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I really do appreciate your guys' whatever. And yeah, if you guys want 15% off of your FX replay, go and use replay 15 for that 15% off. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next session. Peace.